Hey friends, and welcome back to Sewing from Scratch. I am Kate, and this is where I teach you everything I know about sewing and we learn more together along the way. Today I am sharing a few different kinds of threads just to kind of let you know that there's like a million different thread types and we're not even going to touch all of them. Let's go. Okay, so let's get started with the most popular types of thread. What we're using in our regular sewing machines on a daily basis. I'm calling them all-purpose threads because that's what they're called. So if you go into the store or you look online, probably the most common thing you're going to find is polyester thread or all-purpose polyester thread. Gutermann is probably my favorite brand, and probably I would say that's the consensus of most sewists in the community. I also like Coats & Clark. They're also a good brand. And I mean, there's others, but that's just what I prefer to purchase and what's available to me locally as well. So when we're looking at an all-purpose thread, you can get different weights of it. It's measured in tex sometimes. Wawak, on their website, they use tex or weight. So tex means the higher the number, the thicker the thread, and then weight is like a gauge, so it's actually the lower the number, the thicker the thread. But we're not going to talk too much about that. We're more going to talk about comparisons. So for your all-purpose threads, this is, like it says, all-purpose, general purpose. You're using it for sewing most fabrics, most applications, and it is 100% polyester, and you will find some places will list that it is a poly-wrapped poly core. So what that means is the core is polyester and then the threads wrapped around it is polyester. The Love to Sew podcast actually has a really good episode on this, and I will link that down below. They talk more about, again, the weights of threads and kind of just the things that dive deeper into threads, and something, maybe not something that like everybody needs or cares about, but if you are interested, I will link that down in the description box for you to check out, as well as the Wawak website where you can see pretty much every type of thread imaginable. Now, along with our all-purpose threads, there's also 100% cotton thread. Now, this is something that we don't use all the time, I would say. Some people do if you want to be more eco-friendly and you want your garments to be biodegradable. I would personally love to use cotton thread in all my sewing. The problem with cotton thread is it's not as strong as a polyester, which is really disappointing, isn't it? Because we all, you know, I'm sure all of us want to be better for the environment, but it's hard to sacrifice quality when, I mean, you need that. We can't have our clothes falling apart, right? Or our seams popping. So polyester thread, all-purpose thread is stronger, but cotton is a good option for things like things that are going in the microwave, like reusable microwave popcorn bag, or things that you want to biodegrade, or something that you want to dye, like fabric dye. Polyester thread will not take on dye. Now, when I was prepping for this video, I was curious if there was hemp thread, same as cotton, but just hemp, right? Obviously not the same as cotton, but you know what I mean. Biodegradable, eco-friendly, but made of hemp instead of cotton, so maybe it would be stronger. And I did find some on a couple different websites, but I couldn't get an accurate comparison in terms of like weight and size. So I think I'm gonna buy some and try it out, and I can, let you know for sure if you're interested in that. Okay, so what happens if you need something heavier? You're sewing jeans, you're sewing canvas, you're sewing something else, just something a little more heavy duty. You obviously need a bigger needle, but you also want to go to something like a denim thread or an upholstery thread, something that's going to be heavier duty. This is thicker and it also has like a bit of a different feel to it, and it's obviously stronger. I think there's more strands in it and that kind of thing. So go to something like that. But if you're looking for top stitching on your denim or other things, you can either do that or you can go to a top stitching thread. So often these come in more colors and they're that's what they're made for. They're a little thicker. They're meant to be seen, meant to be lots of times contrasting. You know, these are also polyester, but they're just made to be seen and a little bit thicker, and they can be trickier to work with. You know, back stitching can be a problem and things like that, but that's why they're made for top stitching and not full construction. Okay, there's also something called nylon thread. I don't really have a lot of experience with this. My grandma actually used to use nylon thread when she was sewing, like making her rugs and stuff like that. She would use nylon thread, and it's got a different feel to it, but it is strong. I don't know how it compares in strength to an all-purpose, but that it's an option. If you want nylon, be good for like stretchier stuff, I guess. Like if you're doing athletic wear, stuff like that, it might be a better option. Again, the Wawak website is really good for explaining all of that. Another thread that you might run into is silk. So silk is a natural fiber. Again, if you want to be a little more eco-conscious, I have never used it. I would think it's fairly strong, but I don't know. I have heard of people using it a lot for hand stitching, people who do couture hand sewing techniques. It just sounds so luxurious to me. So I think one day I will try silk thread. And then let's quickly touch on serger thread. So there's basically two kinds you can get, and the one kind is general all-purpose serger thread. Maxi Lock is the brand that I tend to buy, but I'm not too fussy. Serger thread is made to be stronger so that it goes higher tension, like a faster speed of sewing, and obviously those threads have to do different things and interact with different parts more, so they do need to be a little bit stronger. That is what you're gonna get in a serger thread, like in the cone. You can use serger thread in your regular machine. I do it all the time because that's the colors, that's what I have colors in mostly. So I do that all the time and I have never had a problem. And there is also another type of serger thread you can get called woolly nylon or stretch serger thread. And this just means that there's a bit of stretch in there, good for your loopers, especially if you're working with knit garments. But I wouldn't say that it's necessary. Okay, now there's a few types of, like, I'm gonna call them specialty threads that you might not have heard of or we might not see all the time, but they're really cool, so I'm gonna mention them. First up, let's talk about embroidery thread. This is, again, just something a little bit different to go in embroidery machines. I don't have one, so I don't have experience with them, but they are a little bit different, and I think they probably come in some different colors maybe, or maybe have a bit more shine to them. I'm not really sure. If you do own an embroidery machine, let us know the difference down below. You can also get thread just for buttons and buttonholes. So this is a stronger thread. Again, it's meant to keep those buttons on and not have the threads popping when maybe you eat a little bit too much at Christmas dinner or something like that. Okay, next up, you might have heard of this, but elastic thread. This is, again, the shirring trend. This is something that we're seeing more and more of. It is literally tiny little elastic wound around a spool thread. You use it in your bobbin thread to do shearing. I have tried many times. I have been unsuccessful. I don't know if it's my machine, if it's me, if it's the thread. I cannot get it to work the way I want it to. So I don't really have any tips for you. I have watched every YouTube video on shirring, I'm sure, and I still just can't get it. So I really can't say too much, and you're probably gonna get conflicting advice when you start looking, but Whitney from Tomcat Stitchery, I do trust her opinion, so that's probably where I would send you first. Okay, then there's something called invisible thread, and this is just a glorified fishing line, in my opinion anyway. It's meant to be invisible. I don't really know like what the specific application is, but there are times where, you know, you might want to use it for a button or something like that. I guess that's really all I use it for. I've used it for making pom-poms. Yeah, I guess if you really want your seams to be invisible, your stitching, you could do that. It would actually add a really nice touch to something like top stitching to make it just a little bit different. Using clear vinyl, actually, that's another great way, another place you might use it. But yeah, I guess it's good to have just in case you feel the need to use it one day. But it is like it's a plastic, it's not a fiber. There's also something called wash away thread. I learned this from Deb from Sew YYC. She uses it in bra making. So she'll sew everything together, and then when she's trying to get a fit for something, and then she just puts it in warm water, washes it around, and then the pieces all come apart and you're able to reuse them, which I thought is really, really cool. I have only seen this on Amazon. I don't know where else you would get it. So if you do know, let me know down below, because I do shop at Amazon, but I don't love shopping at Amazon, you know? And similar to that, there's actually something called basting thread. And I almost didn't include this because I don't know why you would, how you would do this, but essentially it's heat activated, and you sew with it and then you press together and it sticks, like interfacing. I don't know. So maybe, I guess you could run like a line of stitching and then put a zipper down instead of like basting your zipper on, then you know it's in the right spot. I don't know. I've never tried it. I actually didn't hear about it until I was prepping for this video. So if you know about basting thread, let us know more about it in the comments. All right, and that is all the threads I'm gonna talk about in today's video. Again, Wawak is a great resource. Check out their website. The best thing you can do is go in a store and feel things, or order a bunch of different things online and kind of get the feel for different things. I know the Gutermann Mara line is really popular if you're looking just for an all-purpose thread. I'm not too fussy on the weights, but you know, if you're working with like a finer fabric, then you're gonna want a finer thread and that sort of thing. So just keep that in mind when you're shopping. Thanks again so much for sticking to the end. If you thought this video was helpful for you, give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button so I can see you in the next video. Bye!